Hey, this is Declan Farmer. I'm really excited to be out here and get to work with you all. All right, so we're going to talk about some skating. So we'll just kind of start out with where we hold our sticks. You know, we always want to have our sticks at the top of our blades. That's to maximize the length of the stride. You know, if I have my sticks here, you know, a lot of time you see a beginning player, they have their sticks, you know, a little bit further down because they're not as accustomed to sliding the hand up and down to go from shooting to stick handling to skating. But when we're skating, we want our hands all the way at the top so we have the longest stride possible. Once we get going, you know, you might need a couple of shorter strides to get the acceleration going, but once we are moving, we really want to stretch out. You'll notice that even in full stride, their picks are really reaching out, you know, almost past the front of their sled. You know, in the case of a double amputee, maybe it's not quite that far if you have a leg, but they're really long strides. All right, now we're going to talk some turning. It's really just a feel it out process for yourself because, you know, everyone, you know, who plays sled hockey has a different disability, and, you know, whether you're, you know, have an impairment on your left side, your right side, whether there's, you know, asymmetrical or not, your situation is going to be different, and it might just take some feeling out. You know, some people, maybe they have some more trouble turning to their left side than their right side, but it's really just a feel it out process. So when we practice turning, just, you know, a simple 180-degree turn, you know, we're not going to want to rely on that outside hand to pick. We just really want to just work on, you know, using our hips and our body weight to shift down and make that turn. And now, if you're a beginning player, you can use, you know, your inside glove to make that turn if you need to, but it's, you know, it's really just kind of getting the feel for turning. And, you know, in a game where it's really in tight and there's a lot of action in a concentrated area, turning is really an important part of the game, as much so, if not more, than just simply speed. So now let's talk some hockey stops. The cut of your blade has a big impact on, like, you know, how easy it is to stop, what your stop looks like. So my hollow is pretty shallow, so that means I can kind of glide into a stop, and you'll see that when I demonstrate. But it's really another thing where you kind of got to feel it out for yourself. You're really just kind of throwing your hips out is like kind of how I think about it, and you just kind of feel that blade glide. So I'll come back and show some stops here. So it's really important with stops to focus on, you know, being aware of, do I have a preference here? Do I like stopping to my left more than my right? And focusing on that weakness. The next thing we think about is skating and going off on the turn is putting multiple small turns together, kind of like a snaking side to side thing. And this is a really good way for, one, I think a lot of advanced players like to do that to warm up with. Second, I think it's pretty good for newer players just to get a feel of their blades and everything. So a simple kind of snaking motion looks like this. All right, next thing I'd like to cover is, you know, how you fall and get back up. So definitely a beginning player issue of falling and not really being able to get back up. So, but even as you progress further in your development, being able to get back up quickly from falling down, getting back up, and being able to continue to skate fast is really an important skill. So it's really just kind of getting some reps in of like, okay, I fall down, let me pop back up and still continue moving my momentum forward. So I'll kind of show you a little bit how that looks like practicing it. Okay, so the next kind of step in stopping is initiating a stop and then bailing out of it and continuing forward. So it's really just feeling that glide on your blades. And that's really important for tight areas. It gives you a lot of control over your sled. This is something that's definitely like a more advanced skill, something that's important to figure out kind of on your own too, but this is what it looks like for me. The next step off of that kind of stop and glide is like a 360 kind of pivot move. So it's not a 360 in that you're skating around in a circle, but you're really spinning atop your blades. And this is, something you might want to use your picks for to pivot. It really is just kind of personal preference and skill level at that point. So here's what that looks like. It's not just always necessarily a straight 360. You can kind of go 180, you can drift backwards a little bit, then continue your spin. There's really a lot of different ways to play around with it. So another thing we can talk about is kind of just figure eight skating. Now, we'll do this with the puck as well, but this is just kind of to get into the mode of if you're rounding a corner, really driving with that outside hand. So, we're kind of flipping back and forth. We're using, our left stick to skate and drive around that edge, turning to our right, and we flip around, do it on the other side. So. And kind of going off that figure eight where I'm driving with that one hand is just some simple one-arm skating. This is something that if we drop our stick, it's almost like we lost one of our skate blades. Where we use both picks to skate. If we drop one, we're kind of toast, but that's only the case if you don't practice it. Coming from a dead stop is tough, but if we work on building up some speed and then practice what it's like skating with only one hand, that opens up a lot of options for us. So you can kind of see the key is like keeping your core tight and really just kind of picking more to the middle of your sled, and then kind of using that to stay forward, because I'm someone who drops my stick a lot. I end up having to do this a lot in games, and it's a helpful thing to know how to do.